The Oklahoma Sooners are off to an interesting recruiting start. 15 commitments, prospects around the country, and they've got a really good quarterback in the boat. But what's next for the Sooners?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. We're doing a crossover today with Locked On Sooners. Going to be talking all things OU, and it's been a rather interesting year with recruiting so far for the Sooners. 15 guys in the boat, more to come, but which ones are they and what is their strategy? That's one of the things we're going to try to figure out today. And then once we transition to the 2025 season, the pressure to win this year for Venables, the schedule is obviously daunting, and they've got a very interesting quarterback transfer. To help me figure all of that out, I've got both of them today. I've got John and I have Jay. Look, this is a rather interesting year for Oklahoma for a bazillion different reasons. You guys are sitting there at SEC Media Days, and for those, just full disclosures, we record this. Venables has not gone, so we don't have any comments from him, just speculation. I'm curious to see what he has to say and who actually tries to poke the bear with him. I doubt it's you two. You guys are smarter than that, but he's on the hot seat, so that's going to impact everything around Oklahoma football in that state. But let's start off with recruiting before we dump all that a little bit later. Jay, I want to start with you. Recruiting in Oklahoma, it shouldn't be that hard. A dead rat can recruit to Oklahoma, okay? And Venables, pretty good recruiter. But they got like 15 guys in the boat, and while they got Bowe Bentley, who's one of my favorite players in this class, regardless of school, regardless of state, all that stuff, why aren't they ranked higher? What is your overall prognosis for what's going on in Boomerland?
So first off, on the in-state stuff, it kind of feels like Oklahoma isn't at the point where it doesn't feel like they're focusing that hard in-state. It looks like they're trying to spread out, mainly because of bringing in Jim Nagy. Jim Nagy's strategy is dramatically different in comparison to probably what Oklahoma started off with. I know that they cleared their board out, and they went back and reevaluated everybody that they initially evaluated. And for some reason, it doesn't feel like they wanted to throw everything at the Oklahoma talent. And quite frankly, Scott may be a disaster written all over it if things don't improve in that fold going forward. But this year, they may have the ability to let that go. They may be able to punt it. But next season, they're going to have to focus heavily on the Oklahoma recruits because, as we all know, I have an OK prep agenda specifically because I know that when there's top players in state, the only way you're going to win them is if those players and those coaches felt like you were recruiting them from day one.
I couldn't agree more. I know recruiting, especially like I've lived in Florida, that's where it's more political than anywhere. Those kids are real sensitive, coaches are. But Oklahoma's a proud state. I'm very familiar with it. I guarantee you there's some coaches in that state right now. The conversation we're having, they're having amongst themselves too.
Yep.
And unless those guys just happen to be born and bred Sooner fans, and believe me, that stuff matters, they're not going to help OU when the time comes for the 27 class, the 28 class, etc. So that's something that's interesting. But let's also, whoever wants to take this, they can. Bowe Bentley, you get him over LSU. I think he's a dynamic player to begin with, but here's something a lot of people probably don't know. He's only started 1 year. And he had like 50 touchdowns, 52, something like that overall. Plays for Salina, it's just north of Dallas. It's a famous program. Like, how in the world do we even know how good he is yet? He's already really good because he started 1 year. Most guys make a jump year one to year two at each level they go to. Like, how good do you think Bowe Bentley can be?
I think he could be really, really good. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. He also plays soccer. He plays lacrosse, which you got to be. You've got to be a really good athlete to play those sports and play football and then be able to thrive in the way that he thrives because he is a dynamic runner. He's got the arm talent to throw all the throws, but what makes him, I think, extra special is his ability with the ball in his hands, making plays outside the pocket, picking up yards in the design quarterback run game. He's just really, really good. And what seems really interesting about him, and it's kind of an underrated aspect, is he's real low key. You don't see him on social media a lot. You don't hear from him. Any statements that come from Bowe Bentley are very packaged, very straightforward to the point, and they're getting delivered kind of everywhere. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that is a potentially transcendent player. You know, he's the number 4 quarterback now in the Rivals and On3 rankings. And I think that's just scratching the surface of what he can be. I mean, you said it, 1 year of experience. This senior year, he's going to have a chance to go have another big year. Now, will they go undefeated and win the state championship again? That remains to be seen, but he's going to have another monster year statistically.
Yeah, to add to that, what Bowe brings too is he brings a kind of a clout or cachet from down there in Texas. A lot of the recruits know who he is. I mean, like you said, Salina is considered a quote unquote blue blood down there in Texas, and so him being able to bring them back to state relevance and winning a state championship, like it was the first one in some years, if I'm correct. It's been a while since they've got one, and because of that, his name is all over the boards. People know who he is. Recruits know him, and honestly, a lot of recruits like him. They like how dynamic he is. He's a headline type of guy. He's a guy that's going to do stuff, and you're going to see him on the front page of the local newspaper, and because of that, that brings additional attention to the team. So for the recruiting aspect of it, he's going to add an additional impact of being able to do the peer recruiting portion of it that may actually save Oklahoma's class going forward.
I think that's a massive point. At some point, they got to get a couple more impact guys on both sides of the ball. That's no newsflash. There are about 15 guys, but with Bowe, you can sell tight ends, offensive tackles, and obviously wide receivers. Hey, this guy's going to be the one you're either pass protecting for or you're getting the ball from. It's pretty obvious LSU knows what quarterbacks look like. They've had 2 Heismans recently, and that's who we got him over. I think that would just drop my microphone at that point. If kid doesn't want to come up there, it is what it is. You move on. But that should be a pretty easy sell. Besides Bentley, and again, I don't care which side of the ball, which player or players do you guys think has the best opportunity from this current commitment group to make an impact year 1 or at the latest year 2 for Oklahoma?
Brian Harris. I mean, that's the one that really stands out as a guy that can have an immediate impact because he already has size and his athleticism is just off the charts. It's really hard to find guys that are as big as he is, 6'4", 280 around there, and can move the way that he moves. I mean, you're seeing him win off the edge in a defensive end alignment, both in 4 and 3-man fronts, beating offensive tackles. That's impressive. I don't care who you're playing against, what level of college football. If you're 280 and you're beating guys off the edge, around the edge, like you're bending around the edge and you're getting to the quarterback, that's really, really impressive. I think he's got the chance to have an immediate impact. I mean, defensive tackle is going to be deep for Oklahoma, but because he's got that inside-outside flexibility, he's somebody that I think could stand out early on in his Oklahoma career.
For me, it's Deacon Schmidt. Big lineman, 6'5", 310 pounds roughly. And the one thing we know about him is that he is legitimately that size. And so when you look at the way Oklahoma's set up right now, perfect example, you've got Michael Fasusi and Ryan Fogier. And Fogier sitting at like 322 pounds. Gabe Eicher from the Oklahoma Breakdown kind of made mention that he looks like someone that's built to be an SEC guard right now. Like he can evolve into a tackle and play all the positions, but right now he's ready to play as a guard. And so you bring in Deacon Schmidt, who could potentially play one of those 2 spots as well. You could see him fighting for an opportunity to play early because Fabetu Ewu will be gone after this year. Eddie Pierre-Louis is expected to be the other guy that's going to be starting. There may be a chance for a battle to get that spot. And honestly, I think that Deacon Schmidt's going to walk in and really compete with everybody.
He's a big dude, and that was a big get out of Colorado. He was a kid that everybody recruited.
Yeah.
He just showed you the power of Oklahoma. I mean, coaches on the hot seat, and they're still getting kids out of state that are national recruits. So it can be done. The question is, how many more can they add? When we come back, I want to talk about the Oklahoma Sooners on the field. Got a lot of things to discuss: the new offense coordinator, the head coaching situation, a quarterback that's really, really good. That is next here on this crossover. I've been using FanDuel to track up all my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's an easy opportunity for everybody to get involved with, and I think you should take a look at it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. For me, it's looking at all the opportunities right now with baseball to do all these different kinds of bets, like home run is one thing. Everybody talks about that, but how about the opportunity for Triple Crown? Could one of the guys like, I don't know, big number 99 in New York City, maybe he's the guy that gets it done. It's not easy to do that, but that would be a really interesting payout. There's a lot of different opportunities with FanDuel. If you're new to the FanDuel site, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bet if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen or Locked On Sooners, and why not both? Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Gentlemen, let's transition to the actual gridiron. I mean, you guys are at SEC Media Days. There's a lot of stuff going on. You're getting ready for Venables tomorrow. But my first question to you is, what is the pulse? You're both fans, but you cover the team. What do you think the pulse is for the fan base? Like, where do they have to get to win-loss record this year for the fans to be happy? We'll get into the administration in a second. But what's OU got to do before the fans get too mad? Because that's not a very patient fan base.
I mean, I think for the fans to be happy, 10-2 and in the playoffs. I mean, they want playoffs. They want to compete for national titles. They want to compete for conference titles. They don't want to have these seasons where you're like, oh, well, we just missed out, like, and be satisfied. Will they be satisfied with that at the end of the season if they go 9-3 and just miss the playoffs? I think a lot of people would be. But ultimately, if you want them to be happy, yeah, get to the college football playoff. Now, for the administration side, I think if you get to 8-9 wins, I think it buys Brent Venables some more time. 7-6 or 7-5 in a bowl game, a lot of difficult conversations going to have to be had.
Yeah, with a lot of the fan base, as you mentioned, Brian, we're very impatient. The fans here are very impatient. They don't understand what losses are. Like, if you really think about it, Oklahoma's had 3 losing seasons since like the 80s. This is not something that we're used to. It's 40-plus years. It's pretty ridiculous. And so for the fan base, they need to see some W's. They need to see us make big strides, not just a small one. Going 8 wins could work, but it could also lead to not a good situation in people's public opinion about the team. Like John said, 10 wins is borderline the minimum for a lot of these fans. 9 can work because 9, based upon this schedule, as difficult as it is, I'm throwing up those air quotes, because of how difficult it is, 9 can get you in the playoffs. That could be a satisfactory number, but I'm going to be honest, 10's probably the one, because I have been on the record saying I don't think this schedule is as tough as people think.
Really? Okay.
I think at some point some of these teams may fall a little bit less than, because think about it this way. Oklahoma's going up against, they only have 2 experienced quarterbacks that have started for their respective team this season. Everybody else has new quarterbacks in some capacity. Some have been in their systems for at least 2 years, but everybody else has new quarterbacks. Michigan, you got Bryce Underwood. This will be his second start at the collegiate level, and it'll be on the road in a very hostile environment. College Football 26 says Oklahoma's the number 8 toughest place to play in the country. There's a reason for that. So you go down the line, Texas has Arch. Last time we saw Arch, he got pulled in the Georgia game. That kind of tells you something there. He came in, and both of them looked like they had deer in headlight situation. Jackson Arnold's at Auburn. You've got Lenore Sellers, who is terrifying. Same thing with Garrett Nussmeier, who's also terrifying. But everybody else, new quarterback. So unless everybody just immediately just becomes successful at that position, could be a year before all those teams really blow up this year.
All right, that's fair. I think that the biggest question mark is the thing that you guys probably got tired of talking about last year. For the love of mankind, Oklahoma is due some rent on the injury front. My God, last year, that was just grotesque. Like, I was at the Auburn game, and I was watching the guys come on the field at receiver, and I remember literally saying to myself, who's that guy?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the quarterback situation was bad anyway, but I'm like, there's no way. They won the miraculous game to come back, but they should have lost to Auburn. And I know Auburn is not very good. I live here. So you can tell Blackerby I said that, but it was fun to watch. So
I came down in the stands and got on the jersey and got some warm-ups in at that game as well. I was in town, and they said, hey, can you come in here and warm up with us real quick just in case? Because we don't know. That's how brutal it was. You're right. We know that was a thing. But as you said, rent's due on that. We should see the opposite side of the luck for the most part. The good thing is the young receivers that were forced to play, that we all ask, who are you and who's your mama, who's your parents, who's your family? They got a year of experience of struggling. Now it looks like they're way more comfortable, so they should be prepared to go in the game if any of these transfers aren't ready.
Is Jaden Gibson healthy?
Hope so. I mean, the expectation is that he's going to be ready for the start of the season. We'll see, man. That's not one of those guys I'm going to be relying on to be ready to go week one. If you have him up to speed by the time you play Auburn, I think that's best case scenario because he'll be a little bit more than a year out from his injury last fall camp. If you get him back on the field, he's dynamic and he's able to make plays that just wow you if you can get him back on the field. Giovanni Gibson's the other one. He was a transfer portal addition at wide receiver. He got hurt in the offseason, had to have surgery. He's expected back at some point, either fall camp or the start of the season. Again, I need to see it. After last year, everybody's got a little bit of PTSD on the injury front. People were supposed to be close to being back, and they never were really back. So you're looking at, hoping that Deion Burke stays healthy. The Purdue transfer last offseason, a dynamic player that can make plays in a lot of different ways. Isaiah Satania from Arkansas transferred in as well. He remained healthy through the offseason and was standing out. And another speedster that can make plays in a lot of different ways. So there's a number of wide receivers that could step up and be big-time playmakers for Oklahoma. But the guys that have true star power, Jaden Gibson and Giovanni Gibson, guys that have that true potential to be wide receiver one guys, then you're looking at a Zion Kearney, who was a 4-star prospect in the 2024 recruiting class. Everybody's very high on him and the potential that he offers. Again, it's just you got to see him take a step and start to realize that potential. Will he be ready to go and make those contributions week one? We'll see.
If Oklahoma gets wide receiver play, my next question is a pretty easy one, but the quarterback situation, I'm a big fan. John Mateer had 15 rushing touchdowns, and I know it was against mostly G5-ish comp, and he didn't play great against P4 teams last year, but he's also playing with a bunch of guys that aren't P4. So
right.
I can watch the athleticism and the arm and all that and know that he's a little different. And I know playing at Oklahoma is a big deal because some may not know this. He's a Dallas kid.
Yep.
So he grew up with the Oklahoma, Texas, SMU, Baylor, all that. He knows the area. He will be comfortable. Am I wrong to think that he's going to be the reason that, that first question I had, what's the expectation? If they're going to make 9-3, 10-2 to get in that realm, is it that simple? Is it Mateer? Because they should be healthier, for the love of God. Again, it can't be worse. Is it Mateer, or am I missing anything?
Well, that's where it starts. It starts with your quarterback every time. If you're not doing anything if your quarterback's not really producing. But at the same time, you mentioned he's a dual threat. The funny thing is as you talk about him being a Dallas kid, his commitment picture was him standing in front of OU in 2020 when he did a visit. Yes. So he wanted to go to Oklahoma, but no one ever he didn't get recruited by the old regime, really. So he was there. He had a picture right in front of it from June of 2020, which is still bananas to me that he still had that picture in the chamber, but he used that. That's the picture he used for his commitment. But besides that, it's going to be hardcore on him to really start. But the good thing is him being a dual threat, it's going to take weight off the other person that we're kind of talking about, but we're really lightly touching on, which is Jaden Ott. You hear people point him out, but you're not talking as much about him because why? Until the quarterback play actually shows you something, it's kind of hard to talk about the other dude.
Yeah, the offensive line has to be significantly better than what it was. And I don't think anybody's expecting it's going to be as bad. A lot of it due to health. You're going to have a healthier offensive line. So far, they've made it through the offseason unscathed. Last year, that was not the case. Last year during spring ball, they lost several guys. They lost several guys during fall camp. They lost guys week one. It was just a mash unit along the offensive line. So if they're healthier, they are more experienced. They added a Derek Simmons who was being recruited by Florida State in the transfer portal, a big-time addition for them that they can put at right tackle. They bring back a lot of guys from last year's group that, albeit wasn't very good, but did get a lot of experience. And so if that offensive line is good, even above average to good, I think Oklahoma's offense has a chance to be good. And if it's good, then Oklahoma has a chance to win a lot of games because the defense is going to be good.
Let me add to that real quick, too. On that offensive line, the 2 times that the line was actually healthy, you owned the state of Alabama. That was it. Every other game outside of that, you had an injury within the first half, and somebody came out. LSU, you had an injury. Ole Miss, you had an injury. Actually, Missouri, you didn't. You just failed at the end of that game. You just fell apart at the last one. But the defense and the offense, I mean, it was a defensive matchup. But every other game besides that, you dealt with a bunch of different injuries. You had like 10 different configurations at the offensive line because of injuries. Think about that. 10 different configurations of offensive line setups of left tackle, guard, center. All it was just, you can't do anything with that. You're not going to build chemistry. But that Alabama game, you got to see what this line can do. Same thing with Auburn. That was just a young quarterback and young setup. But when you did see them actually play as a unit, they look like they can hold up in the SEC. They just got to stay healthy.
I agree with that because, again, the most important thing in any sport, do your best players get the chance to play. It's unfortunate.
Yep.
Football is barbaric. It happens. Oklahoma just had it happen in spades. Like, it was insane. It's not likely that's going to happen again this year. When we come back, I want to switch to the defensive side of the ball and talk some more Sooners. As for Oklahoma's defense, I have one just generic question that you all probably have asked a bunch. How do you replace Danny Stutzman in his 109 tackles?
It's going to be a group effort started by Kobe McKenzie. I mean, Kobe McKenzie was a 4-star prospect in the 2022 recruiting class. He's waited his turn. He was a kid that was recruited by Oklahoma, by Texas. Initially, after Brent Venables got the job, or after Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch left, he flipped to Texas for a brief time, then flipped back to Oklahoma. And then he's just kind of waited his turn. He got some snaps last year behind Danny Stutzman. He's a big physical presence, a guy that has that old school traditional middle linebacker body. And if he's up to the task, he's going to get that first task and first opportunity to play that Mike linebacker. But it's going to be hard to replace the emotional leader that Danny Stutzman was. I mean, that was a guy that, for the most part, drove the bus for Brent Venables' vision on the defensive side of the ball for the last 4 years. And now it's turning the page. And I don't know how you directly replace a Danny Stutzman. It's going to take a lot of guys, but they've got a group from that 2022 recruiting class that has slowly become the core of that defense that's going to lead the way for the Sooners.
Yeah, and John touched on it perfectly, and that's me. That's the question I'm going to ask Brent Venables. Somebody else may steal this, depending on who's listening to me. But that's what I'm going to ask. Danny's gone. Who's that dude? Who's going to be the one that you feel like that you've seen in practices, that you've seen everywhere? Who's that guy that has stepped up to be the vocal and emotional leader for this defense? They don't have to be honestly the best one on there because, as John mentioned, that 2022 class is coming up. They're the ones now running things. They're the ones with the depth. They're the ones that have been in the Brent Venables defensive scheme for the last 3 years. They're the ones that understand what Brent Venables want. You know, from Robert Spears Jennings going down to Kip and Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie. Right? You've got these guys. They have been in this system and understand what's needed. So because the linebacker room is really critical in order to survive or thrive in a Brent Venables scheme, I'm expecting it to be one of those guys. And as John mentioned, I think it's probably going to end up being a Kobe McKenzie. I remember watching him in the games when he first started coming in over the last couple of years, and you'd see him go up to the line, smack the behind of one of the defensive tackles to move him to the left or move him to the right, yell in their ear, watch for this, do that, point at this guy, point at that guy. And you're like, okay, I see that you have been into the Danny Stutzman School of Leadership. Let's see if you go ahead and translate that going forward when Danny's not there to also yell in your ear too.
Well, and he just has presence, you know, again, a big guy.
He's a giant human being.
He is. I mean, what does he come in at? He's 6'2", 236, you know. Like, he might not be the 240, 250 type, but you look at him on the field and he just has presence.
Right.
You're a middle linebacker. You're not anything other than that. Yeah.
He's big.
Stutzman? I mean, he was the most instinctive / talented inside linebacker in the country last year.
Yeah.
That ran a complex scheme, not just a downhill. His Venables scheme is not for him. So
no.
I thought that would be my biggest concern because they were really good on defense last year. They were one of the most dominant up front in the country because they just didn't miss run gap fits. They were consistent. They were annoying to play against because they didn't give you freebies. But he organized everything. And I'm like, if they don't have somebody that's at least close, you're going to see some freight trains running through because just because you got a complicated scheme doesn't mean it's going to work. It's got to be executed. So if they got that guy, then you guys are ahead of the curve, because most teams lose a guy like that, and it's a big step back.
Yeah, and to answer that real quick, if you go watch the late games in the season, Alabama's a great example. There were times when you saw Kobe McKenzie on the field and Danny was out. And it's kind of crazy to see that they actually started playing. You can see the trust was kind of turned on with this staff, and they recognized, hey, I need to get you guys experience because we're going to lose some of these top dudes. So let me go ahead and throw you out there and let me see you, show me that you are ready to assume the responsibility that you know that these guys have. Losing to Billy Bowman's also tough. You know that Danny was really the emotional vocal leader. Losing Billy, tough as well. But Peyton Bowen feels like he's ready to make that next step. Billy keeps hyping him up. Billy was also teaching Robert Spears-Jennings in the leadership in that secondary and say, hey, dude, this is your spot now. Take over, be that guy. And so you're going to have, like John said, you're going to have layers of people that's going to be there. But at that linebacker spot, though, you did get to see some of those a little bit older guys play a lot more minutes than I anticipated, a lot more snaps than I anticipated, and they played a lot of critical snaps in these late games to me, to where now I feel like, okay, I'm a lot more comfortable than I thought I would be.
That's fair. Let's talk about the back end. If you're an opponent of Oklahoma and somebody that's actually got a quarterback to challenge, is there a guy that you're going to try to avoid in the secondary?
Yeah, Robert Spears-Jennings is the one that stands out. He just has a nose for the football. I mean, he was getting interceptions, forcing fumbles early last season. He had the big, strip sack and Nico Yamaleava. He's a little bit maybe more of a box safety. But the other name is Gentry Williams, and if he's healthy, he has a chance to be a star for Oklahoma's defense. He's battled a shoulder injury over the last couple of years because he's so willing to go up and tackle in the run game. But he had an interception at the start of the Texas game back in 2023. Just jumped the route, jumped the slant, picked it off. He's got that ability to play the ball in the air, and he's sticky in coverage. If he's healthy, he's going to be the one outside that teams are going to want to avoid. But, I mean, Brent Venables, Jay Valai, Brandon Hall, they've just tried to bring in guys that want to attack the football in the air, and they've got a good group of them.
Yeah, I think that other one to really keep your eyes, Gentry Williams really is one with Robert Spears-Jennings. I mean, Tulsa boys, they're Gentry healthy, he's going to be terrifying again. I mean, think about it. The Texas game is one. Eli Bowen showed some promise there in the Alabama game. So you kind of got two guys that will jump a route and get yourself an interception, or they'll be around the play and at least get something knocked down. Peyton Bowen's known for being just around the ball. That's probably the biggest feature he had in high school, as well as the little time he's played. But yeah, I'd echo, from a Robert Spears-Jennings to a Gentry Williams, those two probably are the guys that whatever side of the field they're on, it's going to be terrifying. But there's also one name though. Keep this in mind: Kendall Dobie. Sure, he's 5'11". Sure, he's just under 200 pounds. Dude plays way bigger than that. And he, at cheetah or even at corner, you're going to see him out there breaking up passes, causing problems. And he did that to start the season. And if he didn't get hurt in that Tennessee game, I'm going to be honest, I think we had a chance of possibly making something happen outside of the fumbles, that is.
Well, I mean, they've got all kinds of talent coming back now to, how does it mesh? So that leads to the finale question. Whoever wants to tackle it first, fire away. What is your season prediction for the record for the Oklahoma Sooners?
Well, I haven't settled on a record just yet, but I'm thinking they're anywhere from 8 to 10 wins. This is a team that has had everything come together. They've made the good offseason additions through the transfer portal. They've got a quarterback that can lead, a quarterback that's not going to be afraid of the competition. He's going to rally the troops and rise to the occasion. And they added a dynamic player in the run game. Their defense is going to be good. How good is it going to be? Time will tell. But if it's better than what it was, then this is a team that's got a chance to make the playoff.
Yeah, so John hasn't settled. I went ahead and settled. I'm done with it. 10-2. No excuses. Rule 76. No excuses, play like a champion. So that's the only way that we got to go. If we really want to be competitive this year, if we really want fans to get back on board, if we really want the nation to get back on watch of what Oklahoma can possibly be, 10-2, Rule 76, no excuses, play like a champion.
All right. Jay is not playing around there. He's all out for OU, and he thinks it's most likely to happen. By the way, I am fascinated by the OU Michigan game because Venables against a freshman quarterback is goofy. I don't know if the transfer will play. They're totally different quarterbacks, but you couldn't draw up a worse game for a freshman quarterback to play than on the road against the Venables defense. Just my opinion, but I think that game will set the tone for OU, good or bad. If they lose that game, that's a problem. But if not, it could be what Jay's talking about in 10-2. Gentlemen, tell everybody where they can find your work.
Yeah, you can subscribe to Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all platforms and on YouTube, so hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Jay's got a channel also that covers Oklahoma and other collegiate athletics at Unfair Sports. You can check him out there. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much, and enjoy SEC Media Days. You can find the Portal Podcast wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. We will see you again soon.
Let's get it.